Hello and welcome back to Norby Woodcraft. Here's what we got going on today. We're going to be building a custom sewing desk and trying to get as much of that done today as we can. I'm going to be showing you guys some stuff on the computer, some of the building stuff. A couple things have already been done, I've optimized and done beforehand, and we'll kind of explain that in a little bit. But why don't we start today at the computer? So here's the three-dimensional version of what we're going to be making today. This is going to be an alder custom sewing desk with 6 drawers. So if we slide over here, what we will see is the actual plan. So this particular plan shows us a 54-inch desk by a 46 3/4 height.
I started by cutting the post to length. It should be noted that I had already glued up the post material to save on some of the video recording time. Each post was cut to a length of 24 inches. After cutting the post material, the next step I went to was cutting the material for the bottom edge, which will be covering the plywood which spans in between both of the legs on each section of the drawer bank. I cut the material to width, and then I began to put a rabbet on the top edge of the decorative piece. This would later be applied to the bottom edge of the plywood, which spanned in between both sections of legs on the drawer bank. The saw had created some burn marks on the soft alder, so I decided to remove this using a small bullnose plane in the rabbet section just to lightly take out the burn marks created by the saw blade. Now time to apply the decorative edge to the bottom part of the plywood. I simply applied a thin strip of glue and wiped it with my finger to avoid the glue seeping onto the face of the decorative strip and the plywood. I then simply applied it to the bottom and clamped it in place. I continued doing this for the other 3 pieces as well, using about 4 other different kinds of clamps because all of my clamps were tied up on multiple different projects and I had run out. I guess it's true what they say, you never can have too many clamps.
So now that we have our legs cut, we're going to start getting the legs and the sides ready for assembly. To do this, we are going to use what we call a domino method of joinery. There's a special machine that I'm going to be showing you that's going to put a domino piece that you're going to see here in just a few minutes into these legs, and it's going to help join the plywood sides with that wood edge to the leg itself. Once we get all 4 of those made, we'll work on actually building the case itself and getting that whole section together. We're also going to work on getting the tabletop glued up here in just a few minutes.
First, I lay out the legs, marking each section where the domino is going to go. I do this for each leg on each side of the desk.
So the next machine here that we're going to be using is this. This is called a domino joiner. And what this particular machine does is it has a platen here that moves independently of the actual motor itself. If you watch, the motor pushes in and out. As it does so, it pushes a small carbide bit inside of the piece that you're working on and uses the line on the front of the machine to locate that particular cut and make the cut.
Next, I started machining the legs and side panels, getting them ready for assembly. After assembling all 4 side panels, I pre-applied the drawer slides in a special way, which I will show in a later video. After applying the drawer slides, I began getting the cases ready for assembly. I began by putting the rail sections on first. After assembling the rail sections, I began assembling the bottom panel and back panel, getting ready to apply the final side and complete the case. I assembled these cases using both dominoes and pocket holes. While I was waiting for the side cases to dry, I began working on the solid maple tabletop that was going into this project. For this project, I used 5/4 maple, which would be milled down to a thickness of 1 inch. I joined one of each of the edges of the maple planks and then cut each plank to a finished width on the table saw. It was then time to plane them down to 1 inch. It was now time to glue each of the planks together to create the tabletop. This can usually be tricky because each piece of wood has a different bow to it, and it can be very difficult to get these flat. However, I find by using more clamps and starting from the center and working my way out, I can usually alleviate this. It does still take time though. The flatter I get each joint in between the planks, the less sanding I have to do at a later time. After the panel had completely dried, it was cut to size using the track saw. It was finally time to adjoin both drawer banks together. I did this using a back panel spanning in between both sections of the drawer bank. I applied this back panel using dominoes and pocket screws, which I had pre-machined prior to this video. I did this because the method of machining was identical to the previous sections which you guys have already viewed.
Well, it's been a long couple days, but after all that work, here we are. We got the entire bottom unit pretty much done. We got a little bit of sanding left to do. We definitely got a lot of sanding left on the tabletop, but for the most part, the guts of this thing are all ready to go. Coming up here in the next week or so, we're going to be working on the drawers. We're going to be working on the doors. We're going to be working on the upper unit and trying to get this particular piece of furniture to the customer. So that brings us to the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Keep checking out Norby Woodcraft on Facebook. Peace!